The construction of automobiles in the USSR will begin in the distant 1920s. The first truck of the Soviet Union will be the AMO F-15. The first passenger car will be the Nami-1. The first projects would prove unsuccessful, so in the future the country of the proletariat, using the proceeds from the sale of grain abroad, which was obtained from robbed peasants driven into collective farms, would purchase licenses from the Ford company for finished cars, the Ford A passenger car and the Ford AA truck, which would be produced under the Soviet names KAZ-A and KAZ-AA. Also, ZIS automobiles, which will be produced at the Stalin plant, will become the foundation of the Soviet automotive industry until the middle of the 20th century. Soviet trucks were diverse, simple, concise, powerful, and reliable. But at some point in Georgia, which was then one of the Soviet republics, they decided to create something unique and never seen before. This was supposed to be a truck that would launch long-haul transportation in the USSR. But in the end, they got a low-powered cab-over truck that did little more than provoke a smile. Experienced drivers jokingly nicknamed it Georgian on the balcony, while the manufacturing plant named the truck KAZ.
Hello everyone. To everyone on the other side of the screen, welcome to my channel. Here you can watch videos about interesting stories from the world of cars. I also wish you peace and kindness. Don't forget to leave a comment and give a like.
KAZ Kolkida, a symbol of the Georgian automotive industry and the first mass-produced long-haul tractor unit in the territory of the former Soviet Union. A vehicle that still evokes nostalgic memories for those seasoned drivers who managed to tame this proud and headstrong Georgian truck. And it all started like this. The construction of the machine-building plant in Kutaisi began in 1945. Just 2 years later, the newly built plant would establish the production of spare parts for ZIS trucks. In 1950, the manufacturing of gearboxes and ZIS-150 engines would begin. The first truck at the Kutaisi plant would be assembled on August 18, 1951. It would be the ZIS-150. Subsequently, these trucks would be produced at the plant in Georgia under the name KAZ-150. All parts, components, and assemblies for assembling these vehicles would be supplied from the Moscow ZIS plant. On April 30, 1952, alongside the assembly of ZIS trucks, production of the KAZ 585B dump truck will begin. This vehicle was developed by the Kutaisi Experimental Department of KAZ, which was established in April 1948. It was from this period that the vehicle assembly production in Kutaisi, which had been assembling ZIS-150 trucks, would transform into a full-fledged automobile manufacturing plant, KAZ. The KAZ design department would also develop the cotton transporter road train, Ototo, which would consist of the KAZ 120 TE tractor unit and the KAZ 716 side-unloading dump semi-trailer. Mass production of this tractor unit would only begin in 1956. In the same year, production of the KAZ 601 cement truck and the modernized KAZ 585V dump truck would also begin. Based on the ZIL-164, the modernized KAZ 600 and KAZ 600V dump trucks would be built. Starting from 1957, the Kutaisi plant would focus on producing specialized vehicles for transporting bulk and semi-liquid cargo, concrete, and cement. There were also attempts to produce military products. How could it be otherwise in the USSR? And this happened at the end of the 1950s and the beginning of the 1960s, when two experimental armored personnel carriers, Object 1015 and Object 105B, were built at the KAZ plant. However, the vehicles failed the tests and did not go into mass production. Kutaisi did not stand aside from the needs of agricultural workers either. Especially for them, the production of compact garden and plantation tractors, motoblocks called rioni, was established. The weight of this equipment was only 160 kilograms. The tractor consumed 1 liter of fuel per hour of operation. The rioni moved at a speed of between 4 and 8 kilometers per hour. Besides its size, the functionality of this little machine was also impressive. With the help of various additional attachments, it could perform 32 operations: plowing, sowing, digging holes and ditches, mowing and cultivating, and transporting up to half a ton of cargo in a cart. Starting in 1958, the most successful period in the history of KAZ would begin. It was in this year that for the first time in the USSR, the plant in Kutaisi would build the KAZ 605 flatbed cab-over truck, with a cab positioned above the engine. This vehicle would be equipped with a wooden cargo platform featuring metal drop-down sides. The truck would have a distinctive radiator grille design. According to some sources, the cab design would be borrowed from the Astro Fiat truck, while others claim it was taken from the Ford C-Series. Cab-over trucks would become increasingly widespread. This kind of layout, with the cab positioned over the engine, will make it possible to use the truck's cargo space more efficiently, reduce the vehicle's overall length, shorten the wheelbase, and improve maneuverability. The absence of a hood will provide better visibility and create good working conditions for the driver. Alongside the flatbed KAZ D605, a KAZ 606 tractor unit will also be built. After the Moscow exhibition at VDNH, which took place in February and March of 1959, and where the new KAZ trucks will be demonstrated, the Ministry of Automotive Industry, by its decree, will give priority to the tractor unit. The KAZ 605 flatbed truck will never go into mass production. This decision by the officials was dictated by the need of motor transport enterprises for the appropriate equipment. The KAZ 606 tractor unit will receive the name Kolkida, the ancient Greek name for the western lands of Georgia. Mass production of this tractor will begin in 1961. The KAZ 606 will have an original layout, while most of its components and assemblies will come from the ZIL-150 truck. The tractor will be equipped with an all-metal enclosed two-seater cab featuring a large glass area and a windshield, divided by a partition. The KAZ 606 would become the first truck in the USSR to be equipped with a sleeping berth, which was located behind the driver's seat. Under the cab was a 6-cylinder inline gasoline engine from the ZIL-157K, with a displacement of 5.5 liters and an output of 90 horsepower. The transmission is a 5-speed manual. The vehicle's suspension uses leaf springs with hydraulic shock absorbers on the front axle. Already in 1962, production of the modernized KAZ 606A will begin. The main change in this truck will be the upgraded ZIL-157K engine, whose power will increase from 90 to 110 horsepower. The shape of the radiator grille will also change. Instead of a single square opening, 3 rows of slots will be created. Despite the advanced design, these vehicles will have significant drawbacks. The absence of power steering, a low speed of 65 km per hour, and high fuel consumption of about 50 liters per 100 kilometers. Access to the engine was also difficult, as it was reached through a cover in the cab that separated the driver's and passenger's seats. Back in 1963, in order to address these shortcomings, engineers at the Kutaisi plant built experimental prototypes of the modernized KAZ 608. However, due to the lack of supply of new ZIL engines, the introduction of this vehicle into mass production would only take place in 1970. Externally, the KAZ 608 would differ little from the previous model, except perhaps for a smaller and slightly modified false grille, as well as headlights and turn signals positioned closer to the bumper. The main change affecting the 608 model will be the installation of new components: a V-shaped 8-cylinder ZIL-130 engine with a displacement of 6 liters and a power output of 150 horsepower, as well as new axles from the same ZIL-130. The engine in the KAZ 608 will be shifted rearward and downward, which will allow for increased cabin space and the addition of 2 passenger seats. To improve access to the engine and gearbox, the cab in the new model will tilt forward by 45 degrees. Also, unlike the previous model, the KAZ 608 will be equipped with power steering, which will significantly ease the driver's work. Starting in 1976, mass production of the modernized KAZ 608V tractor will begin, which will be equipped with a new cab featuring a strictly square shape. The name Kolkida, done in the Georgian style, will disappear from the front of the cab. Instead, a large KAZ inscription will appear, along with 2 tanks of 125 liters each, and at an average speed of 40 km per hour, the KAZ 608 will have a range of 700 km. Based on the experimental KAZ 608 flatbed trucks, several airport fuel tankers and AL4 vehicle lifts will be built, which will be used for loading aircraft. Production of the KAZ 608 will be discontinued in 1989. The vehicle will be operated by many automotive enterprises across the USSR, but it will have a mixed reputation and low popularity among drivers, which will prevent the KAZ 608 from becoming a fully fledged long-haul tractor. In 1975, a joint project will begin between the Yaroslavl Motor Plant, NAMI, and the State Design Bureau for Trailer Construction to develop an all-wheel drive truck for agricultural needs. The result of this work will be the release in the early 80s in Kutaisi of a cargo road train consisting of the all-wheel drive KAZ 4540 truck and the two-axle GKB by 8535 trailer. The basis for the truck will be the experimental model NAMI 0215, which will be an ordinary KAZ 608V, only with drive to both axles. The KAZ 4540 will be equipped with a V-shaped 6-cylinder YAMZ 642 diesel engine with a power output of 155 horsepower, which was installed on the truck outside the wheelbase and worked in tandem with an 8-speed gearbox, mounted under the body and connected to the engine via a drive shaft. The truck had a payload capacity of 5.5 tons and a total weight of about 12 tons. The truck was equipped with a 3-seat all-metal cab, which was positioned in front of the driven front axle. The vehicle's suspension is leaf spring with hydraulic shock absorbers on the front axle. The braking system is pneumatic drum type. The KAZ 4540 is equipped with an all-metal dump body with 3-way unloading. The opening and closing of the sides is automatic. For transporting light cargo such as silage, cotton, or tea leaves, the truck's sides were extended with panels made of metal mesh. The good running gear allowed the vehicle to travel not only on dirt roads but also across plowed fields. Along with the high transmission gear ratio, this made it possible to accompany combines at a speed of 2 km per hour. Specifically for the production of new diesel trucks, a large-scale reconstruction of the plant in Kutaisi will be completed on December 7, 1985. At the end of the 1980s, KAZ employed 18,000 workers, producing about 6,000 trucks annually. After the collapse of the USSR, the number of orders for KAZ trucks sharply decreased. Interruptions also began in the supply of components and assemblies from Russian automobile plants, particularly the Likashov plant, which was the main supplier of parts for KAZ trucks. By the end of the 1990s, the number of factory personnel would be reduced to 1,200 employees, who would produce only 15 to 20 new KAZ 4540 trucks annually for the domestic market. In order to somehow stay afloat, the factory began producing household industrial goods, garden wheelbarrows, latches, and handheld agricultural tools. In 1995, in an effort to revive the factory, an attempt was made to sell KAZ to the American company General Motors, which was supposed to set up production of its trucks for the Russian market. However, due to high taxation in Georgia, this attempt was unsuccessful. There were also attempts to organize joint production with the Kharkiv tractor plant to manufacture HTZ-2511 mini tractors in Kutaisi, which in Georgia would be called Imechi 35. However, they were never able to establish mass production. The assembly of CL500 Bolero, cars from the Indian automobile company Mahindra, would also end in failure. In total, only 12 vehicles would be assembled from ready-made kits. After 2010, production would cease completely. The factory grounds and production facilities, overgrown with wild bushes and trees, are turning into a wasteland. The only reminder of Georgia's former pride are the occasional old KAZ trucks that can still be seen here and there on the roads.